We did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages.
On November 13th, 1986, Ronald Reagan addressed the citizens of the United States and firmly denied all rumors of his administration making clandestine and illegal arms deals with Iran. A few months later, he was forced to address the nation again. The story had since ballooned and now included right-wing rebels in Nicaragua, weapons trading via Israel, and multiple of Reagan's cronies. This is the Iran-Contra affair. In the 1980s, a brutal civil war raged in Lebanon. As part of that war, Iranian-backed militant Islamic group Hezbollah often took hostages, including Americans. A few months before that, 52 Americans had been held hostage at the American embassy in the Iranian capital, Tehran. Because of this, the US imposed an arms embargo on Iran. No weapons were to be sold to the country. The US also launched a diplomatic effort to dissuade its allies from selling arms to Iran. At the same time, Iran was at war with Iraq and were therefore in dire need of weapons and equipment. In the US, Ronald Reagan had just beaten Jimmy Carter in the 1980 presidential election, partly as a result of him slamming Carter for his inability to get the hostages out of Iran. Naturally, it was crucial for Reagan to get the hostages out of Lebanon. This was in the midst of the Cold War, and McCarthy-style anti-communism was running rampant in the United States. For Reagan, two things were more important than anything else: get the hostages out of Lebanon, and fight communism wherever it showed up. One place it did show up was in Nicaragua. The Nicaraguan Socialist Party, Sandinista National Liberation Front, better known as the Sandinistas, had taken power of Nicaragua in 1979 after deposing the US-friendly Somoza dynasty that had ruled ruthlessly for 43 years.
The triumph of the Sandinista Revolution on July 19, 1979 was celebrated with euphoria in Nicaragua.
The new Sandinista government quickly improved the standard of living. Illiteracy went from around 50% to 13%. Gender equality improved, thousands were vaccinated, and polio was completely eradicated. Communism was spreading in the US' own backyard, so to fight the Sandinista government, the Reagan administration sponsored a loose network of right-wing rebel groups in Nicaragua that became known as the Contras.
To do nothing in Central America is to give the first communist stronghold on the North American continent a green light to spread its poison.
It developed into a full-blown civil war.
The CIA launched both overt and covert operations to finance a counter-revolutionary army.
The US Congress passed the Boland Amendment, which prohibited funding of the Contras. During the war between the Sandinistas and the Contras committed numerous human rights violations. Let's take a quick look at what Human Rights Watch had to say about the two sides of the war in 1986. According to Human Rights Watch, evidence indicated that the Sandinistas did not have a policy of violating the laws of war with regard to the treatment of civilians. On top of that, Human Rights Watch concluded that almost invariably, the US pronouncements on human rights exaggerated and distorted the real human rights violations of the Sandinista regime. As for the CIA-funded Contras, Human Rights Watch pointed to major human rights problems and widespread and continuing violations of the laws of war. This included indiscriminate and often fatal attacks on civilians, murder, mistreatment, kidnappings, including kidnappings of children, assassinations of civilians, and mining of roads. In short, the Contras were major and systematic violators of the most basic standards of the laws of armed conflict. Now you may be asking yourself why I'm telling you these two seemingly separate stories. And this is where this man comes into the picture. Robert Budd McFarlane was Reagan's national security advisor. He was worried that the Soviet Union would exploit the instability in Iran caused by the war with Iraq. He suggested supplying the Iranians with much-needed American weapons. Shortly thereafter, the Reagan administration learned that Iran would be willing to broker the release of the American hostages in Lebanon in return for weapons. Via Israel, the weapons started flowing. Intent on supporting the Contras in their fight against communism, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North of the National Security Council saw an opportunity to circumvent the ban on funding them. His idea was to sell the weapons directly to the Iranians at a higher price, and then direct a part of the money to the Contras. The money was transferred directly to a Contra bank account in the Cayman Islands, thus bypassing auditing by US authorities.
The United States providing the arms to Israel, and Israel in turn transferring the arms to representatives of Iran. Certain monies which were received in the transaction were taken and made available to the forces in Central America which are opposing the Sandinista government.
By now, the US was violating its own laws by selling arms to Iran. And the money? It funded human rights violations and terrorist attacks in Nicaragua. In November 1986, a Lebanese newspaper broke the story of the US weapons sale to Iran and how the funds had been diverted to Nicaragua. 10 days later, Reagan addressed the nation.
In spite of the wildly speculative and false stories about arms for hostages and alleged ransom payments, we did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages, nor will we.
And 4 months after that, he went back on the screen.
A few months ago, I told the American people I did not trade arms for hostages. My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true, but the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
Bud McFarlane, Oliver North, his secretary, and a bunch of other officials were indicted. Some were convicted, others never made it to trial because Reagan's successor, George H.W. Bush, pardoned almost all of the defendants. People who broke US law, funded war in Iraq, Iran, and Nicaragua, and funded severe human rights violations.